If you could only do 10 exercises for the rest of your life, which ones would they be? Be really interested to hear what yours are. You can list them down in the comments. I heard someone talking about this the other day and it was really interesting to me. It really got me thinking as to which ones I would want to go with. So I wrote down and I thought it over which 10 exercises I would choose if I could only do 10 for the rest of my life. Obviously, this is extremely hypothetical. This would never happen, but it is interesting. And there's really no right or wrong answer. There's certainly no right or wrong answer to this question, but it's all based on personal preference, right? So what I found myself doing is thinking of exercises that were the most versatile, trying to cover the most muscle groups as possible, while also taking into account what my favorites were. So I'm gonna go through my list of 10 here with you, and then I have 3 or 4 honorable mentions that would have been next in line. I hope you enjoy the video or at least find it somewhat interesting. And if you do, consider subscribing to my channel because I make new videos every single week. Exercise number 1 is pull-ups. Obviously going to be one of the best exercises to train the back. Many options as far as grip. You could do a wider grip, you could do a narrow or more of a neutral grip. You could do chin-ups, you could do body weight pull-ups versus weighted pull-ups, which, by the way, weighted pull-ups are maybe the hardest exercise of all time. So that's the first one I chose for my vertical pulling exercise. Exercise number 2 is a flat dumbbell chest press. This is just my favorite variation of a chest press. I highly prefer it compared to a barbell bench press. And this here is going to be my main chest focused exercise. Exercise number 3 is a T-bar row, which is used to train the back. Before I had the pull-ups as a vertical pulling exercise, so this is going to be my horizontal pulling or rowing variation. And the T-bar row is my favorite rowing variation for a few reasons. Number 1, you've got a chest support, right? You've got the pad on your chest so that you have some more leverage and you can more easily pull. Compared to like a bent over row or some other non-chest supported rowing exercise where you really do have to brace your core, you really do have to stabilize a little bit more, which you could argue is really good as well. But I've hurt my back a number of times in the past, so any type of bent over exercise, I typically stay away from personally just to be safe. And a T-bar row really allows me to load up plenty of weight if I want to be rowing very heavy. And I can do that very safely, get into and out of position very easily. Another alternative to this would be like a chest supported incline bench row, which I also like very much, but you've got to get the heavy dumbbells, get into position, and it's a little bit harder to get into and out of position compared to a T-bar row, which is super easy. I also like that a T-bar row has an option for 2 different grips generally. More of a wider grip to hit that upper part of the back, and more of a neutral grip if you want to have it be more lat focused. Exercise number 4 is hanging dips. Now, I don't love hanging dips, but they're really hard and they're really effective. And they're very versatile as well. So that's why I'm including them as one of my top 10 exercises if I had to only choose 10. Because I could do them as more of a lower chest focused dip, which is excellent for that lower part of the chest, similar to like a decline cable press or decline cable fly or a decline bench press. You could also wear a belt and add weight to it, right? A weighted dip. But you can also adjust your positioning to make it more of a tricep focused dip. So I really like that versatility to be able to focus mainly on either the chest or the triceps. Exercise number 5 is a seated dumbbell shoulder press. So this is gonna be my main overhead pressing shoulder exercise. And this is just my favorite variation of a shoulder press. You could have chose like a military type of press with a barbell. You could have chose a Smith machine seated press, or I guess an Arnold press or something like that. But my favorite and most comfortable and what feels the best to me is just a regular seated dumbbell shoulder press. And that's mainly to hit that front delt. Now, exercise number 6 is lateral dumbbell raises, and that's gonna hit that side delt. Lateral raises, I think, are a staple in any training program, and in my opinion, the best, most effective way to hit that side delt. There's a lot of muscle groups to cover in just head exercises, right? as you've seen, all of them so far, all of the top 6 have been upper body exercises. So now we get into the lower body focused exercises. Number 7, what I chose is a hack squat. Now, I think most people would probably choose like a barbell back squat or some other type of squat variation, or maybe a leg press. But I personally just love the hack squat. It feels way better to me. It feels way safer, way more comfortable. And it's my absolute favorite quad focused exercise. And I mentioned before that I've hurt my back a number of times in the past. So I've sort of abandoned the idea of putting a bunch of load on my spine, directly on my spine. Exercise number 8 is RDLs. So I typically do these with dumbbells. And this is mainly going to train the glutes and the hamstrings. It's a posterior chain exercise that has always been a favorite of mine and consistent in most of my programs for my entire time training. So I've got the hack squat for my quads. I've got the RDLs for, my glutes and hamstrings. And then exercise number 9, I chose walking lunges, which I also do with dumbbells. And this is generally seen as more of a quad dominant exercise, and I would say it is, but you can also adjust your positioning and the length of your strides to hit a little bit more glute compared to quads as well. So it's one of those exercises where if I really wanted to focus a little bit more on glutes, I could kind of tailor, the way I'm doing the lunges in order to do that, or I can stick with the more traditional walking lunges for hitting the quads. Exercise number 10, the final one, is seated incline dumbbell curls. I had to get some sort of curl variation in here for the biceps, and that's probably my favorite variation. You take all the momentum out of the exercise, you're seated on a bench, you've got a slight incline, and that's really an ego killer, to do, those very strict curls. You don't even need a ton of weight for those to be super effective. Now, if you'll notice, I don't have a direct tricep exercise, like a tricep extension. That's one that I wanted to work into the top 10, but I just wasn't gonna have enough room in order to get in like such an isolated exercise like a cable tricep extension or the rope press down of some sort like that. And I figured if I want to hit my triceps, I can do so with the hanging dips. Like I said, I can tailor my positioning to be a little bit more upright and hit my triceps that way, as well as with the flat dumbbell chest press. If you go a little bit more narrow, you can tailor that to be a little bit more tricep focused as well. And you're gonna naturally hit a little bit of the triceps through those pressing movements anyway. So that was my reasoning for leaving out like a isolated tricep focused exercise. But exercise number 11 that I probably would work in would be some sort of calf raise option, either a seated calf raise machine or standing elevated calf raises. I know it's such a small muscle group, but calves are always a muscle group for me that's been a weak point that I've always needed to try to build up. I'm still trying to build up, so that's one that I'll always kind of work into my program in real life. You may also notice I don't have an incline chest press in this top 10. And that was just a decision I made because I had to choose, out of so many exercises and hitting as many muscle groups as I can. I already had the flat dumbbell chest press. I already had the hanging dips, which could hit the bottom part of the chest. So it's like, was I really going to try to work in third chest exercise when I still needed to get, most parts of the shoulder? I still needed to get most parts of the legs. There just wasn't enough room, and in all likelihood, in a top 10 list like this, you're probably gonna have to choose between an incline chest press or a flat chest press. Both are gonna hit the chest, just a slightly different angle. I wouldn't blame you if you said you wanted to do the incline chest press instead of the flat chest press, but this is what I chose. Another runner-up that I was trying to work in there, but I decided against it. I ultimately went with the walking lunges instead. I wanted to put in the hip thrust machine. I don't know if your gym has one of these hip thrust machines. My gym does. It's my favorite glute exercise out there. You strap this like seat belt thing over your waist and you can load on the plates, and it's very easy and safe and quick to perform hip thrusts instead of putting a loaded barbell, you know, pretty much right on your groin area. My reasoning for leaving that one out of the top 10 is because it is very one-dimensional. You're only using that machine one way, and it's just to do that one exercise, just to train the glutes in that way. You're pretty much not hitting any quads, hamstrings, or anything like that. So I went with the walking lunges because it is a little bit more versatile. You can focus more on quads or glutes depending on what you're trying to bias more. So again, that's my initial list. I'm sure if I did this exercise again in 6 months, maybe I'd have a different list. I feel like it's the type of thing that throughout the course of your training journey and your fitness journey, this list is probably changing based on what you're really enjoying at the moment, and as your training progresses, as you get more advanced, I figure it's an evolving list. But I hope you found this somewhat interesting. Let me know your reasoning and your list of your top 10 down below. I'm really curious to know what you might choose. And thank you again for watching. I'll catch you on the next video, which I'm gonna leave for you right up here, and I'll see you over there.